I just want to take a moment to say thank you to all of you all for coming. This community is designed to support you in that time. It's really to utilize when things are bad and when you're at your lowest.
I started to learn about emotions. I started to learn about finding root causes, right? Starting to understand addiction and how addiction is not, once again, the issue, that we are using a negative stimulus as a coping mechanism.
Part of my mission is to make sure people know that everything we need comes in a natural form. It's already here for us.
I am determined. I am strong. And I am ready.
We must first lovingly accept what is. I often say, you can't heal a body you hate.
This is healthy blood cells. And that's what we're aiming for. So you can see the contrast. Okay? What you do matters.
Thank you all for coming. Be blessed. All right. Let's do an audio check. So for those who are in the chat, let us know you can hear us and see us properly so we can get going and not record a whole bunch of nonsense.
I can hear you properly.
How you doing, Justin?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm well. Like I was telling you before, it's raining today, which is like the first time it's rained all summer.
That's insane. Yeah, you said your garden's all dried up and burnt, yeah?
Yeah, so the trees, the established trees in the backyard, they actually started dropping their leaves like 2 weeks ago. That's how hot it was. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, my lawn got burnt up like a month ago, but it started growing again like 3 weeks ago. It started raining again here, but
yeah,
y'all are in a different climate.
Yeah, it's interesting how much rain has an impact on nature.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Too much sun, not enough rain, or even too much rain, not enough sun. That balance has to be there. And I think nature does a good job of adjusting.
Yeah.
But I believe that they've done something to our atmosphere where we get way hotter days than what we naturally would. Like, I think the spraying of the atmosphere has an impact on that.
Yeah. Is not the methane gas from all the cow farts?
Hey, even if it was the cow farts, that's still there. They did that, right? McDonald's is using what, like 40 million cows a year, some crazy.
Yeah, there was something I was listening to earlier too, where some guy did like genetic or DNA testing on a burger patty from McDonald's and found like 10,000 different cows in one burger patty or something insane like that.
Jeez.
Yeah, don't quote me on that.
Right.
Nothing I ever say you should quote me on. I listen to too many different things and can't remember where I hear anything.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, listen, I know that that's true.
Yeah.
Because I've researched, I've studied enough. I know how their manufacturing plants work. And, it's not, I mean, that makes sense with the amount of cows they process.
Yeah. It's just strange
So,
how they get
today
them
we got
all
a
in
cool
one
topic.
patty. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, well, the way it's DNA is so small.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so small. So yeah, you could just residue from other cows going through. But I guess that lets you know they don't clean their equipment very well, right?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I definitely wanted to get into this topic. We actually got a comment yesterday. Someone sarcastically said, "Yeah, processed foods aren't that bad, right?"
Yeah. Yeah.
But this article that you sent me from Times, right?
Yep. Time magazine.
I saw the article maybe last week or something like that. So I offhandedly mentioned it on one of my live streams. And then you sent it to me. I'm like, yeah, let's definitely do the live on this. So
yeah, I figured this be right up your alley.
Yeah, man. What were your initial reactions to this headline?
Yeah, honestly, so somebody sent that to me. My father-in-law actually sent it to me. And my first take on it was like, okay, which one of the big food companies paid for this article? Right. And then I went and read it, and it actually turns out, I mean, I'm a skeptic, right? I think you are too. Like, I'm always looking at things with what's the underlying agenda, what's the underlying motive. So perhaps there is some, big food behind this article, but after reading it, it's actually, I kind of feel like it's something a little bit different. So rather than it being like big food's agenda to make you think that ultra processed foods aren't that bad, it's almost like a different spin on it. And it kind of aggravates me because it's like this political agenda. It's like people try to make everything political.
Mhm.
So this article was released just after, I guess, RFK Jr. spoke out against ultra processed foods the day before. Then this article was released in Time Magazine, which completely contradicts, an article that they wrote a year and a half ago in
Right.
January of 2023, where they said ultra processed foods are bad for you.
Mhm.
What was your initial take on it?
I laughed.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I laughed. I didn't actually get a chance to read the actual article. I heard it was more of like a meme Instagram video, type thing, just kind of talking about it. I kind of put things together with RFK and Trump talking about making America healthy again.
Yeah, yeah,
And but I didn't think too much of it because we obviously know that ultra processed foods are absolutely horrible for you.
right,
So
right.
if the paper, in my opinion, if the paper has anything to do with justifying us eating these foods, it's a problem.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I guess the author had mentioned was basically how we as a nation shame people
Mhm.
who are less educated, who are less monetarily secure,
Yeah.
and they need these toxic, poisonous foods because they don't know any better. And what else are they going to eat? And it's like, yeah, well, that's where the government, if we had a government that actually cared about their citizens,
Yeah.
they would provide education and opportunities for people in these areas to get healthy food, not feed them toxic, deadly food.
Yep.
Like how is a processed food cheaper than Justin? I want you play devil's advocate for
I
a
will.
moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I have an apple seed that I plant in the ground, and over the course of a couple years it produces apples.
Mhm.
I take those apples, I partially skin them, whatever. I process them at home, right, using my little food processor and stuff, and I make applesauce and I put it in a jar,
Mhm.
right? How explain to me how that is more expensive or
Mhm.
a less economical option versus taking the apples and processing them through the traditional plant.
Yeah. It's not, right? Like we all like
Devil's
I was
advocate, man.
I know, well, I can't. Like
You
I
can't do
honestly can't. Like cuz the thing that like there's a bunch of questions that keep going on in my head is like the way that this article is written, right? It makes me wonder, do people not really know that ultra processed foods are that bad for you? I mean, there's enough research out there. And I guess like it makes me question my own, beliefs. Like, am I taking it for granted because, I've looked at all the research that links ultra processed foods to diabetes, obesity, cancer, heart disease, all the different things. So it makes me wonder, like, are they writing this article because a lot of people like seriously don't know, or are they literally just writing this article in order to create confusion and doubt in order to, further their agenda? Because I had the same thoughts that you just did is like, is ultra processed food really cheaper than, unprocessed foods? Because I don't think it is in a lot of cases. Like you go to the grocery store, like how much does a bag of Doritos cost now? It's like $6 or $7. How much is a case of soda? Right? I eat a lot of eggs. I know for sure that eggs are way cheaper than Doritos or
Mhm.
Lunchables, right? Like Lunchables are insanely high priced. So yeah, I don't know. Like it just makes me question so many things. And I think that's their goal, right? Is I start questioning and other people start questioning, oh, if it maybe I should be eating this because it's normalized too, right? Everybody's doing it.
Yeah. So I can't rectify the cost of yo, you know what I noticed originally was the cost of a 2 liter of soda
Yeah.
versus a gallon of water.
Yeah.
That was like the first thing I ever noticed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute. I could get a 2 liter of soda at least for 99 cents,
Mhm.
but oftentimes you can find them for 58 cents. You can find deals. But a gallon of water at the time it was a dollar and nine.
Yeah.
And it's just gone up. I think it's at $1.30 probably
Mhm.
right now for
Yeah.
and it's like, no, that can't be right because water comes out of the sky. You literally all you got to do is put it in the bottle.
Yeah.
Whereas with the soda, you have to add the sugar, add
Mhm.
the chemicals, add the dyes. Like there's so much more ingredients,
Mhm.
and every ingredient has a cost.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's just say that we were making a cake, right? And you've got your box cake and you have your homemade cake, right? And each cake has ingredients. Let's just assume all the ingredients cost the same price, right? Let's just, there's 20 ingredients in one, there's 10 ingredients in the other. All the ingredients cost the same price. You're using the same amount of every ingredient. All things created equal. We're making a cake. The one with the less ingredients is going to cost less.
You think so? Yeah.
Because when you look at the box cake, the same ingredients that are in the homemade cake are in the box cake, but then there's the other ingredients. It has to cost more. You know what, Justin? I take that back. I remember I learned something. I learned something a while ago. The government subsidizes the
Yes.
big food.
Yep.
That's
That's the
that
thing. And so that I was going to mention that, like when you mentioned, making your own applesauce from home, the reason they don't want you to do that and they want you to be afraid of the fact that, oh, you could, get some disease from doing it and not, pasteurizing it properly, right? They want you to believe that because it takes out all of the steps in the money-making processes that are involved making that store-bought applesauce. I mean, that's really like, you know me well, and I know you well. Like, that's what it always comes back to, right? Is follow the money, man.
That's it. Now, my question became, why would the government support the production of ultra processed foods over initiatives where we could not only save money but have healthier options locally
Yeah.
by starting movements like co-ops,
Yep.
gardening clubs, the same propaganda machine that has us at each other's throats for this political thing or
Mhm.
the religious thing. They could use it to get us on board with gardening. You could require, our school system is absolute trash.
Yeah.
You could require, the federal government could require the school system for every school to have a garden. Do you know what that would do if every school, like, how they require, okay, you have to have a certain amount of handicap parking spots to have
Mhm.
a school, right? You just require every school to have a garden in order to get whatever type of incentives and monies that, schools get for being schools.
Yeah.
All you got to do is just require them to have a garden, and then all the schools we built with the mindset of having the garden, right? And naturally, it makes sense. Teach the children how to garden because then you don't have to pay gardeners.
Mhm.
You have to pay somebody to come. So that's more money in your pocket as a school. That will be simple to do. And then what you do is the school sells the food,
Yeah.
right? Maybe the children are allotted a certain amount for free or whatever. If there's surplus or whatever, they could sell it. They could go to farmers markets and you could use that money for fundraisers, whatever the case may be. Just imagine what that would be like if we did that.
Yeah, it'd be great, but you can't tax it, right? You can't make money off of it. Like, they'll make a lot more money by letting, Taco Bell and McDonald's come in and sell their fast food to kids because they have to pay them a certain percentage for
Mhm.
everything that they sell. Like it's like capitalism at its worst.
Yeah.
And
You
so no,
oh,
I was
go
just
ahead.
gonna say, like, I think that's why too, though, it's becoming politicized, right? Because now finally some of these people who are running for office are actually talking about changing that, like removing the money making, aspects of these large food companies and separating them from government, and that scares them.
Yeah. Yeah, anytime that we, the people, regain more control, it's a problem for the
Yeah.
powers that be. And could you imagine like orchestrating? Because when I look at the United States, I look at United States as the grand stage. Like if I was one of the 13 families or whatever, one of the secret societies, and I've been manipulating things behind the scenes for umpteen years, we're talking probably 1,000 years or whatever. And we finally got to the big stage, which is the United States, and where we are right now. If people started to unravel that, started pulling on them threads, I would lose it.
Yep.
I'm not letting thousands of years of work go down the drain because of this one YouTuber.
Yeah. You're gonna shadow ban him because he's taking my control away.
Man, I had Matt from Cultivate Elevate on.
Yep.
And we did our interview. It was great. He gave a lot of resources. He always does that. He always backs what he says. He's better than me. He's gonna, hey, Chris, in the 1970s, da 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 da, and here's the book, and here's the article, and right. And he did that throughout the whole video, and then he posted the video on his channel, and they took it down.
They took it down.
I'm assuming medical misinformation.
Yeah.
Then he went live, and I can't remember. He talked about eating watermelon seeds or something like that, and the benefit of eating watermelon seeds, and they banned his account for like, I don't know, 14 days.
That's insane.
Yeah. And so, somebody had just commented yesterday talking about one of my videos. I don't remember what the video was about, but it was like, hey, y'all, make sure to watch this before they take it down. And it's like, that's the world we live in. We live in the world of censorship. And people don't realize it, and they think, oh, it's just a game. People are just talking. Like, no, they really do censor us. Like, the reason why my channel is still here, and I'm sure you already know this, is because I censor myself. There's certain things I don't say on this platform because I already know what it is.
Yeah. You got to be careful of those trigger words. The algorithms will pick them up.
Justin, why does everybody think this is a premiere?
I have no idea. I even commented in there that we're live.
We are live, y'all. Put a super chat. Hey, somebody put a super chat in there. I'll read it live.
Yeah,
like, we're here. What are you talking about? Did you want to either play that article or?
Yeah, I can try and show it here. I also looked into the dietitian who they interviewed. Let me see here. Select a tab to share. Nope. It's funny. They kind of. There you go. Can you see that? I gotta.
Yeah, but I'm gonna bring it on stage for you.
All right, there you go. Yeah. So this is the article. Why one dietitian is speaking up for ultra processed food. So essentially, if you haven't read this article, I was gonna say I recommend reading it, but I actually don't recommend reading it. There's not much new you'll learn here. There's a really well-known guy who wrote a book called Ultra Processed People, Dr. Chris Van Telekin. And what he did, I think just over a year ago, is he ate only ultra processed foods, or at least 80% of his diet was ultra processed foods. And he did that for 30 days. And he actually tracked, data. He tracked his hormones, his blood work. He ended up gaining weight and really jacked up all his hormones and blood work. And this was kind of a big thing in the news. And so this dietitian then came and did the same thing. Supposedly, the dietitian named Wilson, she ate 80% of her daily calories from highly processed foods, and she didn't do any blood work or check her hormone levels or weigh herself. But she said she felt like she had more energy, and she actually did better eating processed foods. And so this article, I mean, in all fairness, this article does kind of take a unbiased approach. They do, report that there's a lot of research showing that, eating ultra processed foods leads to, greater rates of obesity and disease and all sorts of bad things. But they also don't take a stand against it, which again, makes me wonder, like, what was the point of this article in the first place?
Right.
But yeah, and I did look into this dietitian, right?
Okay.
Jessica Wilson. That's where, to me, it gets kind of interesting and it gets kind of hairy. Let's see if I switch screens here. No, if I switch screens, it's still showing. Do you want me to show what I found on this
So
lady?
if you have another tab
Mhm.
in your browser, go to it and it should ask, "Hey, do you want to share this tab?" It'll be on the top left-hand side.
Oh yeah, sweet.
Yeah, it works pretty well.
Yeah. Sorry, y'all. I'm new to this. Share this tab instead. Okay, so this is, can you see my mouse too?
Yep.
This is the dietitian herself.
Okay. Okay.
This is her Instagram page. So in this one in particular, I pulled this up because this is actually a processed food, Wild Chips, that she is sponsored by. So
Okay.
she's not, unbiased here. She makes money from promoting processed foods.
Mm.
And see here, share this tab instead. I found this interesting because if you go to her Instagram page and look at some of her content, what you'll find is she tends to make everything, like I said, very political. So if you speak out against ultra processed foods, then you're racist and you're yeah, I mean like, but the cool thing is that a lot of people fortunately see this for what it is. Like if you look at these comments, like this person is seriously deranged and dangerous.
Mm.
This woman is sick and obviously paid off. What an irresponsible message to send. So that gives me a little bit of hope. But
Right.
yeah, this is her. I found this interesting. She speaks openly and candidly about the harm caused to people by designating individual identities and bodies as risk factors rather than targeting the structural inequities and violence that marginalized individuals must endure and which contribute to whether we fall into this social construct of health.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's just the thing that strikes me with that is like, yes, I understand that sometimes it is easier and cheaper perhaps to purchase ultra processed foods, but that doesn't detract from the fact that the truth is the truth,
Mhm.
right? Don't try to confuse people and, call them racist and anti-political or whatever just because we're going off of what the research actually says.
Mhm. Yeah, it's actually interesting when people use those type of tactics. So let's not talk about the problem
Mhm.
or even solutions for the problem because we won't admit they're there. Let's deflect and let's pretend as if these people are in these situations because of someone else is putting food in their mouth. Like, look, I understand there's miseducation. I'm the first one that'll talk about miseducation. That doesn't remove your responsibility as an individual over your own health and wellness,
Yeah.
right? Like miseducation is there's all look, there's information out there that'll tell you, hey, if you jump off a bridge, you won't die. There's videos of people surviving falls from bridges. There's always going to be misinformation. Does that mean you're going to listen to it and use it?
Yeah.
Like you have to have discernment,
Yeah.
you know? And then of course, anytime someone is misdirecting all the time, I don't trust you. I have no faith in you. What do you stand on?
Yeah.
What is I understand like if you have an agenda and you want to make money or whatever, do that. But like don't try to make it seem like everybody else is wrong for saying the opposing viewpoint
Mhm.
just because you're trying to make money.
Yeah.
You know,
Just be
like you
honest
don't
about it.
just be. Hey, look, you don't have to be a dietitian that is promoting health and wellness.
Yeah.
You could just be like, look, I like these chips.
Yeah.
I approve these chips. Who are those famous YouTubers? The brothers,
Which
Luke,
ones?
Jake Paul, and whatever his name is.
I don't know.
You don't know him?
Nope.
They're extremely popular.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jake Paul and Luke Paul or something like that. I don't know. But they promote their crap. They
Yeah.
promote chips and their drinks, their energy drinks. They're absolutely trash.
Yeah.
a third party, I think a third party researched the ingredients in their drink and like compared it to other drinks. I think it's called Primal
Oh,
Prime or
you do you mean Paul Logan and Prime? Is it
Paul
Paul
Logan,
Logan?
Jake Paul. I don't know, man. I don't
Yeah.
know who they are. It's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Prime is one of the worst beverages on the market.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but they're not saying, oh, it's healthy. That's why I
Drink
can
this and
fight
you'll lose
well.
weight and feel great. Yeah.
Right. They just drink it when they box and when they do their promotions and stuff, and the children drink it. That's it.
Yeah. 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 And that's what I mean. This is like the intentional confusion, right? And that's why it just kind of gets me aggravated when people try to make things political, right?
Mm.
Like what you eat is your identity, and it, identifies you as, left or right. Like they're completely separate things. And to say that, if you tell people the truth about different foods, you're shaming them because they're eating those foods. It's like, honestly, like what you said, it's your responsibility. I'm not shaming you. It's your choice whether or not you eat those foods, as long as you know the consequences of eating those foods. I think there's a difference between saying, hey, if you can only afford ultra processed foods, or you just really like eating them and you know that they're not great for you, but you're going to do it anyway, that's different than telling people you can eat ultra processed foods and nothing bad's going to happen to you. They're just trying to shame you and make you feel badly about eating them. That's a lie. Like,
Yeah.
that's not the truth. Yeah, Logan Paul and Prime. I actually have watched several videos on Prime. People get all fired up and debunk Prime. Just like they do with Huel, that meal replacement shake Huel. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna say something. I already said it before, so I feel comfortable. They can't cancel me twice.
Yeah.
But 2 years ago, it was very popular. The body shaming ideology, the body positive movement. Like, you couldn't say certain things to certain people with certain body types. There was an entire movement that was protecting your right to love your obese body. I know you know what I'm talking about. And me and my friends, we were talking like literally like late last month, and we're like, man, it seems like it's that community has died down a lot, right? Like, it seems like their voice isn't as big. And we all was like, oh my God, it's because the influencers died. Like, we really, the light bulb went off. Like, the movement died down because the influencers died.
Yeah.
So you can believe the hype if you want to. Like, just because 1,000 people or even 1,000,000 people are telling you one thing, and you've got this movement, you guys got a flag, and you have a website, that's all fine. You can believe and say whatever you want. It doesn't make it truth, fact, or what's the best option or what's healthy for you. Yeah. And now you have Lizzo, who, if I were to put it on one person who really like solidified that movement, I would say it was Lizzo. Not to say she started it, but she became the mascot.
Yeah.
And now you have Lizzo showing before and after pictures of her losing weight.
Yeah.
What a farce.
Yeah. It's almost like those, the people who swing from one diet to the other. They'll like die on the hill for this one diet, and then, a couple years later, when they have to make some adjustments, they get all this flack because they realized, hey, it doesn't have to be this strict. There can be, variation depending on individual differences. Yeah. Yeah. And so honestly, like, I know I said it already, but that's what this reminds me of is, if you don't agree with me, then you're wrong and you're shaming me. And again, like, I don't know if this will offend anyone, but it's what I believe. It's like, there is no truth anymore in our country. Everybody has their own individual truth, and if your truth doesn't align with mine, well, then you're the one who's wrong, and you're shaming me for telling me that I'm wrong. It's like, no, y'all, there is still truth, and the truth of the matter is that ultra processed foods have been shown over and over to not be healthy for you.
Yeah, and one thing that I don't understand is when we talk about medical misinformation. You ever noticed, Justin? It only applies to people like me and you,
Hmm.
right? If the Times puts out an article that is obviously medical misinformation
Yeah.
and puts it on their YouTube channel or puts whatever the case may be, that's allowed to spread like wildfire.
Yeah. Yep. Because of the people behind it, right? I mean, that's why like I don't trust a lot of research articles anymore too, because a lot of them are sponsored and funded by the products that are actually being analyzed in the studies. Like this article that we're talking about here, one of the experts, Dr. Fatima Cody Sanchez, I think her name is, she's
Mhm.
reported in here. She's the same doctor that you'll see on Oprah Winfrey's special on Ozempic. She's being paid by the
Mm.
pharmaceutical companies that make Ozempic. And yet, that's not medical misinformation. She's just doing us all a favor by telling us how good Ozempic is and how it's not that harmful. It's crazy.
Absolutely insane. So this goes back to a statement you made earlier about, how this kind of connects to big food and all of that. Well, when you really dig deep, man, when you dig very, very deep, you see that there's only like one company that owns everything.
Yeah.
There's this, at first it was like there's six corporations, and then, but the more I research and the more I learn, it's really just one, because the ones at the top, they own each other. So it's all just one
Yeah.
company, you
Yeah.
know?
Big
And
brother.
so they control the news media outlets, they control, big pharma, they control the food, all the manufacturing plants and all this stuff. And they push whatever narrative or agenda is going to benefit them, which, the thing about it is it's just evil, because you could make a lot of money promoting health and wellness.
Yeah.
Like you could generate plenty of money, So for example, if we started a campaign to get America healthy again, right?
Yeah.
And we started developing the brains of our children in a way where, STEM became exciting again, and people were starting to use their creative side more, and we allowed that to just play out. Well, you're going to have people coming up with new products, new services, new things that we can then monetize,
Right.
because we're all healthier. It doesn't have to be one or two people. It don't got to be one or two Steve Jobs. Everyone could be a potential genius.
Yeah.
I talked about a study recently in one of my lives where this guy looked at 5-year-olds, and he gave them a test to see, out of the 5-year-olds, how many of them would be considered genius level.
Hmm.
And it was ridiculous. It was like 95%
Yeah.
of 5-year-olds were genius. And then time and time, year and year go by, boom, boom, boom. He keeps redoing the test. And as the children get older, less and less of them are in that genius category until, like, I don't know, age 10 or 12, when
Yeah.
it was like down to 5% or something. I don't remember
Yeah.
once again, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was pretty extreme, like
Yeah.
to the point where, by the time they were adults, it was like, less than 1% is a genius.
Yeah.
So what it tells us is that we all start at genius level.
Mhm.
And then based on our diet and what we're introduced to, our home life, the trauma,
Right.
our education, blah, 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 it reduces.
Yeah, it
It
gets
does not
suppressed.
increase our level of genius. It reduces it.
Yeah. Yeah, it gets suppressed by all those different factors. And you mentioned that really it's just a few companies that control everything. That was another thing that I was thinking about when I was reading this article is, the USDA guidelines on nutrition, they're getting updated next year. So I think it's in November of this year that they're going to be meeting and discussing those things. And who do you think owns those people? Like, there's been so many books and articles that have been published coming out that's like more than, I mean, last time they did it was well over 50%. This time, even, it's still 50% of them are connected to big food companies, And so again, here it really does become political because, again, like, it's subsidized. The government's making money off of this stuff, off of, big corn and soy. That's why these foods are pushed. And so that's why I think I was shocked to not be able to specifically tie big food to this article, but I mean, it would not surprise me. I'm pretty sure there's going to be something that pops up that comes out that says they are behind this. Very sneaky.
I mean, even if it's just the aftershock of some other action, right?
Mhm.
Like whoever these chips that she promotes or whatever partnerships that she may have, Big Pharma doesn't necessarily, or I'm sorry, Big Food doesn't necessarily need to say, "Hey, go write this article, go do this." It can feel like a very organic thing for her because they're funding her lifestyle,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
So she comes up with her own ways to do the promotion for them. Because if she's seen as a champion of processed foods, more companies are going to come to her, right? And be like,
Mhm.
hey, you know what I mean? It could
Yeah.
just be her own personal greed or and by the way, and I'm going to say this, she doesn't look healthy. Like
Yeah. I didn't want to be the one to say it.
that's fine. I'll say it. You know, and I me personally, this is just me. All right, y'all don't gotta listen to this. This is just my personal thing. I don't look at people like if you aren't actively on the path of health, like either improving your health and you could show that you've improved your health, or you are currently in a state of either optimal health or you're just healthier than the mass majority of people, I'm not listening to you.
Yeah.
Like, why should I?
Yeah.
Like, where's the proof? Where's your track record that what you're saying? And well, I'm not gonna go too much, but there are people that have promoted different diets and different lifestyles, and with good intention. I believe with good intention. Okay, so I'm not saying this is always like an evil thing, but and they die at the regular age that everybody else dies, looking the age that everybody else looks, and I think that means something. Genetics and DNA do play a role in how you look and how you develop and all that stuff. However, if you change your lifestyle in a dramatic way and what you're promoting works, you should see some type of preservation of youth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't just look like a regular person at 70 years old if you've been doing this health thing for 40 years.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah. And yeah, this is going to be, out of all the lives you and I have done, this is going to be the most likely one to get removed after its live. But yeah, those are the same things that I was, asking myself too, as I'm looking into her and especially what she talks about on Instagram, is like, I'm always questioning, what are the underlying motives? Is she taking this stance because she actually believes it and cares about other people's health? Or is she doing it because it's what some people want to hear, right? What you're doing is okay, even though you're unhealthy. I'm doing it and it's fine. So is she doing it to promote? Like, is she doing it to just, become well known? She's got a lot of Instagram followers. Or is she doing
Really?
it just for the money? Yeah, I mean, she got like 112,000 Instagram followers. It's because her stuff's very polarizing, right? Because it brings in the people like you and me. They're like, oh my gosh, you're spreading misinformation and like killing people.
Mm-hmm.
But then on the flip side, I've seen lots of comments from people like, oh, I've so needed to hear this. You're a godsend.
Yeah. Yeah. Polarizing people are going to draw eyes for sure. Who knows, man? Attention is a drug.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, when we look at all the big companies out there, whether it's Facebook or Google or whoever, even your bank, they all want attention. They're all looking for your attention. So that's really the modern day gold, is your attention, because then you can monetize that. You can learn somebody inside and out and manipulate them. My concern is we are adults, you and I, and we research, and we have very strong values, but like the little 6-year-old or 7-year-old
Mm-hmm.
who has access to Instagram, who's scrolling, death scroll, doom scrolling, whatever you call it, you know what I mean, and comes
Yeah.
across that, who likes Cheerios or
Mhm.
Fruit Loops or Lucky Charms. I don't even know what's out anymore. Is all the same? Have they even innovated any of these processed cereals that are killing our children and making them sick?
No.
No, probably not. But
No, they probably just pumped in cheaper versions of the vitamins and minerals that they infuse them with, fortified.
So you have these little eyes, which is really the problem. And I talked about idiocracy on one of my live streams late last month, because it's not us, it's not you, me, or even the people on this live stream that are going to be tricked by this. We all probably think it's silly,
Yeah.
but it's our children.
Mm-hmm.
So when we allow this type of rhetoric to fester without it being properly addressed, without it be like, hey, baby, that's just fictional. That's cartoons. That's make believe, right? Like that's just fake. If we don't address it that way, or if you have people fighting for one side or the other, especially if it's in a political sense, then the children get confused because that's what happened to us.
Yep.
That's why they put the food pyramid on everything.
Yep.
You know, we were all eating the food pyramid and getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I still, advise people to this day who are my age or older that eating fat is not bad for you, because that's what we were, ingrained with growing up. Oh, you got to eat fat-free yogurt and fat-free cheese and fat-free milk and eat lean protein. Like, nobody wants to eat chicken breast and broccoli for every meal.
Mhm.
No wonder it's so hard to lose weight, right?
That is such a great point because it really makes it personal for people. There was a time when we would eat, I can't believe it's not butter, over real butter.
Yeah. Canola
You know,
oil. Yeah.
you know which one really got me was the Diet Coke.
Yeah.
The Diet Coke is more toxic than the regular Coke.
Yeah. When I say that though, I get so many haters. I've posted that type of content, and man, you would not believe. Even though like every other month there's another research study that links it to cancer, right? Like I'm a fear monger.
Bro, it's a slap in the face.
Mhm.
Coke is already a cleaning material in other countries.
Yeah, it removes
what I mean?
rust. Yeah.
Yeah. So they don't use it to drink, they clean with it. But then they make Diet Coke, which is worse than the original. And it's like how me personally, that would infuriate me. Like if I was a consumer of those products and I'm learning about health and I'm like, okay, I want to eat a little healthier. Oh, let me get the diet version. All this time I've been spending extra time getting the diet version. First of all, it doesn't taste better.
No,
So
it's horrible.
you have to get adapted to the taste. You do all of this work and then you find out it was worse for you than the original stuff. That's insane.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too. And so like Elmira said here, I knew a lady who drank Diet Coke daily and she gained so much weight. Yeah, I do too. I think we all probably can point someone out. In the original Time magazine article, a year and a half ago in 2023, where they said the ultra processed foods were bad for you, at the conclusion of it, in the last paragraph, Tim Spector says one of the keys is to get people to stop focusing on calories and instead focus on food quality.
Mhm.
And I think that's where, again, like we can go really deep on this, right? The whole conspiracy and the USDA guidelines, like it is all about the food company wanting to keep their processed foods in our lives so that they can profit from it. And what's the best way to do that? Convince us that quality doesn't matter. It's all about quantity. If
Right.
you just eat, your daily allotted calories, you can have Coke and you can have chips and you can have McDonald's. I mean, I've got comments like that on my videos. Like, it's all about the calorie deficit. You can eat McDonald's and soda every day as long as you stay in a calorie deficit. Like, even if that were 100% true, like, who wants to eat McDonald's and soda? You're not going to feel good.
Well, according to Jessica, you will. And the interesting thing about it is
It is funny. That's a good, nice segue.
The interesting thing about it is I recently had an old classmate on, and she is she focuses on mompreneurs, just teaching mom with children like how to manage, home life, husband or boyfriend, whoever you got going on, children, business, all of that, right? And she does not feed her children processed foods if she can. I mean, if reasonably speaking. So they didn't have McDonald's. The first time they had McDonald's was like literally a couple of years ago. So they started complaining one day or whatever over a period of time that, Mom, you always cook. every day you cook, 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 cook.
Yeah.
Why can't we eat out? And she's like, oh, y'all want to eat out?
Yeah.
Now, these are children, ages ranging from 5 to 20, so
Mhm.
they've been on this type of home cooked meal for a long time,
Yeah.
and they're homeschooled. So they're really not getting the processed trash.
Yeah.
And she said she started feeding them fast food every day, or whatever.
Yeah.
And eventually they were like, okay, mom, can you please cook?
Yeah.
you know and so it's like the only reason why your children ask you for chicken nuggets and french fries every day is because that's all you ever give them.
They're used to it. Yeah.
They're used to it.
Yeah. I like when I lost all that weight, like 10 years ago, because I didn't know any better, all I would eat for lunch would be salad with salmon on it. And after literally after 2 weeks of doing that, when I got hungry, that's what I craved. Your
Mm,
body is like an adaptation machine. Like
mm.
I can literally get addicted to anything. It's whatever I put in my body consistently, that's what my body's going to crave once I remove it.
Oh, good points. Look at this. Some people do feel good eating processed foods, and they start feeling bad when they stop eating it. That's
Mhm.
what happened when I stopped. I had horrible headaches.
Interesting.
What do you think about that one, Justin?
Yeah, I can relate to that one because anytime I go back to drinking soda and then stopping it, I get withdrawals from all the sugar.
There we
Like
go.
I think it ties right into what I was just talking about is like most of y'all know, like I used to be a heroin addict, right? If in heroin, we can all agree, I hope, that heroin is a poison, right? It shouldn't be in your body. But what happens when you put it in your body consistently and then you stop taking it? Dude, I got so
Yeah.
sick to the point where I would steal from my family in order to not feel that way anymore and put that poison back in my body.
Mm,
Our bodies adapt to whatever we consistently do. And that's why it's tough to do, right? Like if you're currently in the habit of eating lots of ultra processed foods, it is very difficult to switch over. Like I'm not going to, sugarcoat it.
mhm.
Yuck, he's a junkie. I was a junkie. Yeah.
Was.
I was a
You
junkie.
misspoke.
Yeah.
Was.
Um, I forgot what I was saying now. Somebody called me a junkie.
I know. Very, very, very rude.
No, it's cool. I used to
Um,
be.
used to be.
Yeah.
And you know what? We appreciate your honesty and your candor, because what people try to do is they try to hide their life. They try to, if you didn't tell me that, I would never known.
Yeah.
It's not like I know the telltales of, signs or something, or if you even have any tells. And so when people are honest about their journey, that also gives them the permission to teach and
Mhm.
help other people who are on that same path, because there's a lot of people that do. We're talking about heroin, that's a hard drug,
Yeah.
but also ultra processed foods are just as hard. The only difference is one is
They're
socially
legal.
acceptable.
Yeah. They're
Well, yeah,
legal.
legal, obviously legal, yeah.
Although honestly, the way we're headed, one day heroin's probably going to be legal. So
It's in certain countries, I have seen where they've started programs as a
yeah,
way to deter people from,
yeah,
you
I think
know,
Portugal has those.
yeah.
Some of those European countries. But yeah, we won't go down that rabbit trail.
We'll
But
leave that
yeah,
alone.
honestly, no, it doesn't bother me that Sarah called me a junkie because I'm not a junkie. I was a junkie, and it's taught me so much about life in general, right? Like I can speak to being addicted to food as well because when I came out of drug addiction, I quickly transferred over to food addiction, which is part of the reason why I'm so passionate about what we're talking about today. When people are running around like you would think I was insane, right? Although I'm sure there's people out there that would say things like this. You would think I was insane if I went on a platform and was like, hey, if you're a heroin addict, you just do you, it's not bad. Don't let them shame you for being a heroin addict and for using,
Right.
an illegal drug. Like if it makes you happy, keep doing it. Like
Mhm.
who in their right mind would agree with that and say, "Oh, this guy's spreading a good message," right? But that's essentially, and I know it's kind of apples and oranges, but in my opinion, it's really not, right? We're
Mhm.
talking about health, and to tell people that this isn't bad for you when it clearly is, that's just harmful.
Mhm. Yeah, and well, it does speak to the state of our nation, because you can, Listen, you're saying that who in their right mind is going to listen to that and agree? You're correct. No one
Yeah.
in their right mind will, but there's a lot of people who are not in their right mind,
Yeah.
and they are voting, they are working, certain jobs. They are. You can go outside and you can find people who are not in their right mind. Now, when I say that, people are going to think crazies, the moon, the Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm talking about.
No.
I'm talking about people who look just like you and I, but they have what's called toxic thinking. And the toxic thinking comes from the processed foods they eat. And what happens is when you eat processed foods, primarily, you develop mucus on the brain. And because the brain uses electrical current to stimulate and to send operations and orders and commands and do all this stuff, you lose your ability. You lose some of your critical thinking. You lose your genius. We talked about this earlier with the children. We lose that, and so now we are a little out of our mind. But it's so normalized that you look like a normal. You just look like everybody else.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it's like all those, and RFK Jr. spoke about this, I think, the day before this article was released. All the different chemicals, like the food dyes and the additives that have been linked to ADHD and autism, if I can say that without getting canceled either. These chemicals that, like, what, 70% of them aren't even allowed in other countries, but yet the
Right.
United States allows them in their food. Because
Right.
again, it's all subsidized.
Right. I think that's a good point. Like, and people don't really do that type of research. Why would they? I don't blame them. You know what I mean? But when you do the research and you're like, hey, how come Canada doesn't let their citizens ingest this, that, whatever, dyes?
Yeah.
You know, the same cereal brands we were talking about earlier. You go to Canada, ketchup, condiments, certain things that the same stuff we have here, they have a different ingredient list in Canada.
Yep.
Just because of the laws.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. In Europe too, a lot of the products that we have are just altered slightly in order to meet their regulations. So it makes you wonder, it's like, why don't they just do that across the board? Well, because it's cheaper and we don't pay attention to it. And the government makes money off of it.
It's just so crazy, man.
Yeah.
Someone asks, is seltzer as bad as diet soda? I like plain seltzer.
I drink plain seltzer. There's some debate, and it's probably not debatable, but a lot of the natural flavors that we put in that we as a country have in our stuff are not natural whatsoever. But if you're talking plain seltzer water, you're just drinking water with carbonation. So I would say if you enjoy it, then go for it. Another thing too, though, that reminds me of is the whole idea. So like one of the arguments in this article is that it's wrong to put a blanket statement on processed foods and say that they're bad. Right. Like I made this note too, Chris, because this is ridiculous. So like in the article, what they group together is they'll say that gummy bears and canned beans are the same. Right. Nobody in their right mind believes that gummy bears are the equivalent to canned beans. And so like what you have to understand is, yes, there's not a universally accepted definition for what is a processed food and what is an ultra processed food. But if you understand that everything is on a spectrum from unprocessed to incredibly highly processed, and along that spectrum, there's different levels of how processed it is. That's what we're talking about here. Like a canned. All right. So if you get canned tuna or canned beans, in most cases, you have to be careful because they'll trick you sometimes. But if you look at the ingredients, most of the time it'll just be the number one ingredient, which is beans or tuna, and then water, maybe salt, right? Sometimes they'll sneak in like vegetable broth and some like preservative chemical, like canned corn. If you get the unsalted canned corn, it's corn and water. I hope that we know that that's not the equivalent to a gummy bear, right? Like, yeah, there's different levels of processing, and there's also the argument too, and this is what they throw out there to, honestly, I think, cause confusion, is that almost every food has been processed, right? Like
Right,
frozen vegetables have been
right,
processed.
right.
Yeah, technically, right?
Yeah,
If I cook a potato and now it's a baked potato, then I've just processed
you've
it,
processed
but
it.
it's still a freaking potato,
It's
right? A frozen vegetable has nothing in it but vegetables. They've just been flash frozen at the peak of their when they were picked.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so and this goes back to, I think, kind of what I was saying earlier about getting the children. You and I, as reasoning adults, we realize that, right? But there are children. One of my colleagues told me a story, and this really hurt my heart. He's a puppeteer. He educates young children, so spends a lot of time with children. And he asked the children, "Hey, where does hamburgers come from? Where does corn come from? Where do these different vegetables and meats come from?" And they would say things like, "Hamburgers come from McDonald's," or "Yeah,
Yeah.
corn comes from a can."
Mhm.
And he was telling me, he's like, hamburgers come from a cow. And they'd be like, "What? No,
Yeah.
it doesn't." They didn't know that where the meat came from, where the food, they didn't know they were eating animals. They didn't know that fruit and vegetables grow in the ground. They thought they all they knew was a can and a restaurant.
Yeah.
So when I say that they're looking to attack the children, that's what I'm talking about. See, only people that work with children at scale would probably even know that. Because if you are somewhat aware of your children and things, you're probably telling them certain things, you're having conversations. But there are children that don't even have their parents in their life, really. Like, they're home, they're technically in the same household, but they're working all the time, or they're on their phone. They're not really paying attention. The TV and their teachers at school and anybody else who kind of spends time in their life is really training them and bringing them up. And what are they teaching them?
Yeah.
So
It's funny, Tracy, my wife's uncle owns a dairy farm, and he said they were doing field trips to his farm one day, and like half the students who came in, I think they were like elementary school students, never even knew that milk came from cows. They just knew,
wow.
yeah, they just knew that you went to the store and bought it. It's like, well, how do you make chocolate and strawberry milk?
That's
Yeah,
insane,
it's nuts.
right? And once again, you just got to be around large amounts of children as an educator or something like that to get this experience, and then you get the shock. Because what I noticed what they were doing, so like when we were in school, they were teaching one American history,
Mhm.
but now they have a different American history. And unless you're like engaged with your children, or, once again, a teacher or something, you have no idea. So the mass majority of adults have no idea that what they taught then is not what's being taught now,
Yeah.
you know? And obviously, I think our dietary strategy is one of those things that's been played with a lot. And you think it's getting better because they teach that we get smarter and wiser, and we're at the peak of science, and we're at the peak of knowledge right now. And like I tell people all the time, we are not at the peak.
Mm-mm.
We are not even close to the peak,
Mm-mm.
right? Like, we can't replicate what they were doing in ancient Egypt. We're not at the peak, y'all.
No.
Just because we got an iPhone.
I don't know if I froze up or if you did.
My internet just,
There you go. He's back. You got to
I froze.
that was them. That was them shutting you down because you were about to speak some truth. But yeah, I mean, like you were about to say, like, at the peak of our knowledge and all the information we have available at our fingertips, and the leaps and bounds that we've made with research. But you have to realize that all that research, well, I shouldn't say all, but most of it, a lot of it, is
lot of it.
manipulated. It's being manipulated, just like the news is being manipulated to give you the truth that they want you to latch onto as truth.
Right.
That's why I keep
Yep.
saying this is going to get canceled. But hey, for y'all who are alive, hey, you saw it before it got canceled.
Got it. They had technology in the when did I was it like the early 1900s where they could send a telephone call through the ground.
Really?
Yes. No wires.
Yeah.
They used the ground as the conductor and they could make telephone calls through the ground, no wires.
But there's no money in that. I don't know if this is true or not. You just made me think of this, but I heard at one point in my life when I was a much younger person that the first light bulb that Thomas Edison ever created is still burning to this day. Do you know if that's true?
Yeah, it is true, but the fact I guess the thing that's missed is who created the filament. It's the filament for the light bulb that's so special.
I
And
gotcha.
yeah, so that filament is what they stopped using.
Yep.
They stopped using
Because it's
that
permanent.
basically.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yes, it's still burning. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Well, it just goes to show you that, which direction. So if you can accept that, right? Like anybody can go and do their research. That light bulb, if I'm not mistaken, you can go and view it, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Yeah.
And so if you can accept that that is true, then you have to accept that our technology is devolving.
Yeah.
Because I installed a light bulb I was an electrician for 6 years. Okay. I know how to install a light fixture. I installed the light fixture in my kitchen maybe 5 years ago. It's already going out. It's one of them LED new. You could change it from the cool blue to to the warm color. Like it's the new thing. It's the best thing. LEDs last forever. They
Yeah.
use less energy. All that crap, and yet it's already breaking down. It's been
Yeah.
5-6 years.
Yep. Because what happens when you have to replace it? Cha-ching. More
Cha-ching.
money. It's good business.
There are cars that are what 40 years old
Mm-hmm.
that still run.
Yep.
They still run. And yet, you go out and get a new Dodge Hellcat, you'd be lucky to get 100,000 miles out of that thing before it breaks down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
let me ask you this. So, I mentioned that the new food guidelines are going to come out for 2025. Do you have any inkling or any idea, any guesses as to what those might look like? Do you think they're finally going to change and be something useful?
what I find that they typically do, especially in a situation where people are becoming like they're waking up, is they will take something very dramatic and they'll highlight it.
Mm,
Like, look over here. Look what we did over here. Look at this great change we made over here, but it's only
yeah.
going to be 20%.
Yeah.
Right. So they'll take the 20% that maybe is like a good thing, something we can kind of all get behind. They'll run it through their media machine because once again, everybody's controlled and manipulated by the same group.
Yeah.
And then everybody be like, oh, look what they did. Yeah, look, we're moving in the right direction. They'll read an article, they'll see a headline, and they'll move on about their day.
Yeah.
That's how they do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's smart. I bet you that's what happens. Chris James, prophetic word.
Listen, man, I appreciate y'all for checking in with us. This was a fun conversation.
Yep.
And I think everybody knew from the title and knowing my channel, at least, that they know we weren't about to talk about the benefits of ultra. I can't reasonably come up with any benefit of ultra processed food.
No. The only benefit of them is the one, and again, this dietitian talks about it, is the convenience factor, right? Like it's easier to,
Yes.
eat a microwaved meal than it is to cook a home cooked meal. But again, like I said, that's comparing apples to oranges.
Right.
They're not the same thing.
And also with a little bit of planning, you can have that same convenience.
Mhm.
Now you have to do the planning to create the convenience for yourself, but you can, you could, meal prep, freeze the stuff. Like you could come up with those types of solutions. People do it all the time.
Yeah.
Or if we're just talking about convenience and we're not really, looking at the cost, I mean, HelloFresh
Mhm.
or different, meal. There are delivery servers that'll be local to you that will deliver fresh food,
Yeah.
2-3 times a week if you want.
Yeah.
So it's the problem with the convenience is the downside. Like the
Yeah.
convenience gets swallowed up by the downside, which at the end of the day, we all know health is wealth.
Yeah.
So if the foods are making you very unhealthy, I mean, like, is that worth it? So
No.
hopefully people they have watched what's that movie? Super Size Me,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I believe, and you can kind of chime in. You've seen Super Size Me, right?
Oh yeah.
I believe that he went into the project not necessarily knowing
Mhm.
how things were going to go. I
Yeah.
think that he thought genuinely, okay, my health may decline slightly,
A little
but
bit. Yeah.
I'm in really good shape. I'm in good health. It's not, it'll be a little bit, right? I don't think that he expected genuinely what happened to happen. And they recorded everything, they documented everything, and that just is what it is. Anybody
Yeah.
could do that same test.
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly have it on my whiteboard. I don't know if I want to subject myself to that same torture, but you know me, I like to test things out. And after this, lady says, "Oh, I felt better eating ultra processed foods. I lost weight," although she didn't weigh herself.
Right.
Um, I might test it out here coming up soon. I might actually just do the opposite.
You're hilarious, man.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, Justin. That's one test I don't need to run.
Yeah, I know I don't need to, but part of me is a little bit intrigued. I know
Well,
what's gonna happen, right?
you do.
You and I know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna be fun. And two, going back to, that comment before about feeling like crap when you come off of that food, like that's what'll happen if I do it. I'll eat it for 30 days and I'll feel miserable when I switch back to how I currently normally eat.
Right.
I'll have to detox.
Right. Got to detox. Yeah. I don't know. Listen, y'all. I think in America, we are the processed food capital of the
Mhm.
world. We don't need to do the test. We just look at the health of Americans
The
and how we're
norm.
portrayed in other countries. We're portrayed as slobs.
Mhm.
And you can just see because we're consuming more processed foods than natural foods anyway,
Yeah.
without having to do any type of test. All he did was kind of put a microscope on what was already happening. But if you just look at the people around you, most people are probably eating. When I say mostly processed foods, I'm saying literally like 51% or more of your diet is processed foods. Easily.
Yeah.
That number is way higher, but I'm saying easily it's 51%.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the last time I looked it up last week said the standard American diet somewhere between 61 and 90% processed foods.
Insane.
And that's normal. That's the standard.
That's the standard.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's why again, like I go back to the spectrum thing. Like if you're at that 90%, all you have to do is start making just a few substitutions, go a little further down on that spectrum, and you're gonna see massive improvement.
Mhm. So, for example, with this lady Jessica, let's just say for fun that she ate McDonald's breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right?
Yeah.
And so she's already doing the processed food thing, and then she decides, well, I'm gonna do this test, and I'm gonna eat only ultra processed foods, but I'm gonna do salada, or I'm gonna do Chipotle, or you know what I mean, like some other restaurant. Yeah, you probably are gonna feel better and lose weight
Yeah. 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 I
because
think
you're moving down the spectrum a little bit.
yeah. And that's the other thing too, is I don't know what her original diet was. It's very vague. And I'm not gonna, troll around on her Instagram page trying to figure out what she eats because I don't need to subject myself to that type of information.
Hey, to be honest, I have half a mind to like follow her or at least like review her content and just to get something out of her
Yeah.
just for fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Or yeah, it'd be good content to just react to as
Mhm.
well, you know? I
Yeah.
mean, because and not even, and I know you and your personality. It's not even from a bad standpoint. It's honestly to teach people that this is wrong, and this is the truth.
Mhm.
Yeah.
100%. And I know I could just tell like I could tell she's a very reactive person.
Yeah,
But
I'm sure.
you know, at the end of the day, man, it's for the children more than anything else. Because, like I said, the adults are sitting in the comments like, "Yo, this lady's dangerous," blah blah blah. We know that, but the children, they're just they don't know any better.
Yeah. I
So,
find it
Justin, what do you got going on, man? You got anything coming up that you want to share?
I'm just in the middle of testing out some different things. You know me, right? Trying to reverse my anterior pelvic tilt, if you know what that is. Duck butt. And then, yeah, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to do 30 days, like absolutely zero processed foods. So
Okay.
like literally, like even if you call canned beans processed foods, I'm going to eliminate that. And then I don't know, unless you talk me out of it, I might consider doing 30 days of ultra processed foods.
Well, I can say this. Assuming you survive the 30 days, we can get you back into normal health pretty quick. So,
Yeah, well, that's how I'd wanna do it. I'd
yeah.
go straight into, like, a 7-day fast to just completely detox right
Yeah.
away and just get right back on track.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not convinced to do that. What do you got going on?
We got our retreat.
Oh, that's
Our
right.
retreat is going to be the 20th through the 23rd of September this month.
Nice.
Um, we will be promoting. We got a new course, so we've partnered with a colleague of the channel who teaches like more in depth information about the different systems of the body. So we've got the endocrine system. Wait,
Ooh,
is the endocrine coming up? I think either the endocrine system is coming or we just did the endocrine lymphatic. Yeah, I think the endocrine system is coming next. We're promoting that course. And honestly, earlier one of our brand partners popped in, Pamela, talking about the LifeWave
mhm.
patches that we've kind of discussed a little bit.
Yep.
We've been talking about those a lot, and we've got a whole bunch of testimonials that we're compiling, and people have seen some really great results from that. So if you guys in the chat have not heard about the LifeWave stem cell patches, you want to get on that train because we are seeing some amazing movement there, and our community is super excited about that. So we're going to continue to build that out, teach more, and I mean we've been doing videos on how it's improving our weight loss, and this is from coaches who fast, and we have different dietary strategies, and we're seeing improvements, rashes, and all kind. I like seeing
Yeah.
detox symptoms.
Yeah.
I'm weird, so like I'm excited to see all that stuff. But
Yeah, I saw your brother did a video, what, like a week or so ago, and he lost, like, 6 pounds in a day using one of those and
yeah,
fasting.
so he was fasting, but he used a particular patch called the SP6, which helps to upregulate the endocrine system
Okay.
and the digestive system. And we believe that through that, the organs, there was like 10 organs that were highlighted in a study that increased by nearly 90% efficiency over the course of 7 days of using that patch. And we believe that that is what caused that spike, because he had started using it and he had lost regular weight on day one, I think like a pound or something. And then on day two, that's when he lost his 6 pounds. But his overall average came out to like it was like right above 2 pounds or almost like 3 pounds a day. I can't remember what his average was, but it was above average. 2 pounds is the average weight loss you get on a fast. So to lose 3 pounds on average is huge.
Right.
Huge difference. Yeah. So yeah, but that's pretty much everything we got going on right now. We got more coming. We're gonna close out the end of the year with the 21-day fast. Well,
Oh,
we've got our
nice.
We've got our no. I take that back. Wait. We've either got an R72. Yeah. We've got the R72 to close out the year, and then the beginning of the year we're doing the 21 days.
We're doing a 21-day water fast.
Yeah, water fast.
Ooh, I might jump on board on that.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm eating ultra processed foods for 30 days. Just 21-day fast done.
Yeah. Christmas time's a great time to eat ultra processed food.
Yeah, all the cookies. Christmas cookies.
Yeah. You should do that. Do the Christmas ultra processed diet.
Oh.
And just see how sick you get.
Yeah. My wife she'd call me an idiot. That's a term of endearment in this house.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all I got today, man. You got anything else?
No, thanks for chatting about this with me. I feel less frustrated and aggravated about it now.
It's like talk therapy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Talking to somebody else who can see right through this stuff. Yeah.
It's fun. All right, y'all. Well, appreciate you for joining us. We'll be back this week. I got a video coming out on Sunday, and hopefully I'll do a pop-up live stream for y'all this week as well. So that's it. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.